Perfect. Awesome. Well, man, I was saying earlier, I appreciate you hopping on here today with us and giving us a little bit about what God did for y'all with Easter and everything. But before we do dive into the nuts and bolts of all that God did, all the visitors and stuff
Mhm.
for Easter, I do want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are, what church you go to, where y'all are, and so you can go ahead and take it away with that.
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Carson Brown. I'm the assistant pastor here at Bible Baptist Church in Columbia, Missouri. Our pastor is Jeff Hastings, and the town of Columbia, Missouri is one with a population of about 110,000, and in a given year we'll have about 40,000 students here at the University of Missouri. So a lot of opportunity here. The church was started about 20 years ago, and it has grown a lot of faithful families. Prior to getting involved with the Digital Tract Ministry, we did do physical outreach and such, and it did produce results. We've built a strong church with a lot of faithful families, but there was definitely something missing before. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So as far as Easter, and I know that's one thing we want to kind of inspect, and just walk
sure.
through the Easter service and y'all's results because y'all had a decent bit of visitors. What was y'all's total number as far as through all of your outreach and stuff? First time visitors, what do you think y'all had?
We had around 50 first-time visitors, and then we had a lot of return visitors. Like with Easter, you get some that haven't come in a long time. So I think total visitors we had around 60, 65, but first time in the door it was about 50.
Yeah, 50 first time visitors. That's awesome. We talk to churches and they ain't seen, five visitors in the whole year.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
um
it's a
so
blessing.
50 visitors in one day is awesome. So give us a breakdown of that. All right. First, actually, don't give us a breakdown of the visitor count just yet. Give us a breakdown of everything y'all did. What did y'all do preparing for Easter? As far as outreach, everything y'all prepared for to make, even when people got there, like if there was anything special going on that day. Give us
Yeah,
a breakdown from kind of start to finish.
yeah. So when we signed up for Digital Tract University, we landed on Easter as a great place to go ahead and start a campaign, because at that point in time it was about 4 weeks away. So we had plenty of time to build out the campaign and do that, as well as outreach events. And we have a pretty involved congregation with outreach. So we'll have 30, 40 people show up and go and door to door,
Amen.
flyer. So that's a blessing. But we didn't do a lot as far as, like, we didn't print out special door hangers or anything like that, which we have done that in the past, and we've seen mixed results with it. But we did have those outreach events and then ran the ad side by side. And as far as like what the day looked like, we've never really made Easter a service that is as much geared towards visitors as it is geared towards our church family kind of celebrating the Lord's resurrection. So that was definitely a little bit of a different spin this year. But the main things that we changed was just that we kind of prepped the church for the fact that there was the potential of there being up to 75 or 80 people here, specifically from the tract ministry, the digital tract ministry. um, and so we prepared extra ushers, extra nursery workers, got everyone ready to receive a larger crowd, and then had a lot of extra special music planned. We had a couple specials, a couple of choir specials, to kind of add something there. And then afterwards, which this was kind of impromptu and it was not a part of any of our advertising, was that we did a hamburger and hot dog cookout after the fact for those that did show up. And that, I think, really allowed us to create some lasting relationships with visitors, because I'm sure that everyone watching this that has made it their business to try to welcome visitors sees when they come in, you get a chance to talk to them briefly, and then every once in a while as they jet out, you'll get a chance to talk to them. But adding that special that meal, and then also we had a photo backdrop where my wife, who has the setup to do basically professional photos and editing, would take family photos for with the Easter backdrop, and then fellowship around some food. It allowed us to talk to people, and one lady got saved that morning.
Amen.
So that was a huge blessing. And then another family of 8 have returned both of the Sundays since, and they are wanting to start Bible studies because they're interested in salvation. So
Yeah. Well, amen. Hey, I love it when they return,
yes.
that's always the wonderful piece there. Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying when it comes to I think churches are bad sometimes about not putting in the effort of actually getting visitors, connected
Hmm.
into the church when they get there.
Yeah.
Because we talk to churches all the time, and we'll have people say, yeah, we've seen such amount of visitors, but we didn't see any of them return. And we'll
Yeah.
ask them, like, what do y'all do? Like, is there do y'all follow up with these people? Is there any kind of goal to build a relationship with them? And it's like, we've got this mindset of, oh, they're just gonna, they're just not looking for the truth. Well, no, they
Yeah.
might be lost and not know what they're looking for. But
Yes.
they have to come more than once sometimes to find out what the truth
Right.
is. So, it blows my mind. But I agree, though. One of the big things we do at our church, where I pastor, is, our whole goal is to get people to visit more than once, because we know
Hmm.
that 9 out of 10 times they don't get saved the first time they come. And
Yes.
so, what can we do to establish somebody coming at least 2 to 3 times? And, one of the big things, well, we have a hospitality team where we greet people and
Hmm.
introduce themselves, and we make sure people verbally give visitors their names, where there's like kind of a psychological connection made where they
Yes.
know somebody at the church. But one big thing we've been doing is we tell all of our church members that, hey, listen, if a visitor comes and they're about your age, if they have kids and you have kids, invite them out to eat afterwards, whether it's the first or the second visit. Invite them out to
Yes.
eat. You pay for it, and the church will reimburse for yours and their meal. We'll pay for the whole
Wow,
meal.
that's awesome.
And we do that for the whole purpose of trying to get relationships established as soon as possible, because people need Jesus, but they want friends, so it's
Yes,
one of the things.
absolutely.
And so, yeah, but no, I agree that meals, when you're eating afterwards, all that stuff, it opens the door for relationships to be built. So,
Yeah.
but when it comes to your outreach, all right, so y'all had 50 visitors, y'all did some door knocking. How much do y'all think y'all went door knocking? Maybe like just one time before you went, or do y'all go every week hammering it before
So
Easter?
yeah, during the springtime, we usually go weekly, and obviously, we won't have the full strength out of every church member out for every week. But like I said, we do average around 30 or 40 out, and then we will make a push like the Saturday before. And so we did go out, I think, 3 times specifically with the guidance of, hey, when you knock on people's doors, when you catch people out walking in the neighborhood, just let them know that we have the special service going on. But again, nothing printed or
Printed, yeah.
extra that announced that other than just word of mouth.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. So I guess breakdown would be like, give us a breakdown of the visitors. Like, I know you told me how many y'all had from the digital tracks. Kind of break that down for us.
Yeah, so we had the 30 around 30 that were here from the digital tracks, and then 10 or 15 that were walk in, as well as some return visitors. But the ones that came, we had 40 lead forms completed. Several of those were larger families. And so that were actively texting with us. And so we're like, man, we're gonna have like 75 or 80 people here. And then it turned out to be around 30 or 40. And so, which it wasn't necessarily discouraging, but it's one of those things. It's like the people that were supposed to be here were here, and they got something out of it, and we were able to
Yeah.
welcome them. So it was a blessing. But you know, I think that maybe in retrospect, um, like preparing people for the fact that this could be a 20% conversion rate or 100% conversion rate. We really just
Yeah.
don't know, because I'd gone to the links of typing up new usher guidance to where everyone was really prepared to see a crowd, and they were
Yeah.
excited, which they were still excited to see 30. But
Yeah.
like I said, maybe communicating that it might not be the whole church filled up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and we tell people that, like, whenever we're running ads for churches, they'll be like, if they have over 100 forms filled out, they'll be super excited, like, anticipating a lot. And we'll always tell them, and we actually say it's about a 15% show up rate. Sometimes it can be up to 20. And we've seen 40 or 50% show up rate. You really never know what God's
Yeah,
going to do with it. But yeah, on average, it's about a 20% show up rate. So y'all really had a perfect kind of show up rate. That's average, 20%.
yeah,
And so, but yeah, but what's so funny is kind of like what you just said, it's like, yeah, when we were anticipating a whole lot more, it's like, yeah, but man, you still seen 30 first time visitors. My goodness, we've been door knocking for years. I don't even think past 5 years we've been door knocking. We ain't seen 30 visitors from our door
Right.
knocking.
Yeah, and it really is a big mindset shift too,
Yeah,
because getting the church kind of changed over from like a church is all about recharging the people of God to like, hey, when on Sunday mornings we've got a great opportunity to be an evangelistic church that sees multiple visitors come in the door, and just being ready to welcome them, and make church feel a little less scary. Because I mean, I
yeah,
can tell you, like we talked about before, like even when I grew up in church and we go on vacation, and going into a new church was like, it's strange. You don't know anyone there, and it feels a little scary. So just trying to lessen that a little bit is important. And then once you see that happen, man, it can kind of start to snowball really quickly.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we went and visited a church a while back. We were invited to come do something. And we went up to the church and yeah, we didn't me and my wife walked in with our kids and ain't nobody came and introduced himself to us, except for the pastor and his wife and such and such. And we were just kind of like, this is the most awkwardest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I'm a pastor. But we
Right.
were awkward. We were awkward being there. So
What was the size of the church?
they probably ran around 50 to 60 or so people,
Okay.
but when we went, it was like a banquet kind of thing that night, and they probably had 30 or so people there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was very awkward. You think if it was bigger, maybe it'd be more awkward, but it was even a smaller kind of group, and we were just kind of
Yeah.
sitting there and looking at everybody, and everybody just kind of looking at us, and we're just like, you know, felt weird for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, well, real quick, so as far as your experience wise, have y'all ever done anything like this before as far as digital tracks, any kind of paid advertising like this digitally, or is this first time?
This was the first time. We again, like I said, we did physical outreach and some limited social media advertising, but not we didn't ever pay for advertisement online. And so, I from my business background, I'm fully aware that you can do Facebook ads, but I
Yeah,
just felt like the effectiveness would be kind of limited, especially for the buy-in that people would have to get behind of me being the assistant pastor, kind of pitching this to the lead pastor and saying like, here's how we can quantify that this actually is going to work or have
yeah,
a decent success rate. And so I feel like the outreach software and the follow-up text all kind of help bridge that gap to where you can kind of point at some success and say, hey, this is how we're going to get people. Because this, and you preach this on the universities, but like people spend 6 hours a day on their phone. And I just thought about myself, am I going to be more likely to come if someone puts something on my door or even talks to me at the door? Or would I be more likely if I like found it on social media and was like, hey, let's check this out. So
yeah. When you felt like you're in control, it was your choice to kind of, to go
exactly.
visit. Yeah. For sure. So, just real quick, just in case for anybody watching, because I'm sure there's associate pastors, outreach directors, we have them come all the time.
Hmm.
So you're the one who found us first, then, right? And you had to present it to the pastor and everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us just briefly how that went. Was it?
Yeah. So like our pastor is the founding pastor. He's been here 20 years. And he's not like what I would consider to be like old fashioned in that he doesn't use an email or whatever, but just never really explored using digital outreach. And so the one of the other positive things about this is because other pastors have used it. And so there was a mutual friend that we knew, someone that our senior pastor trusted, that had also used it. And so it wasn't just me saying, hey, look at this. He
Yeah.
could call someone that he would consider a friend and get kind of firsthand feedback on how it went. But, at first, there was a little bit of hesitancy. But,
Yeah.
I think that the track record kind of speaks for itself. And so it was one of those things that was a pretty easy decision because, like you've said many times before, we spend a lot of money on foreign missions. And so investing a little bit in trying to reach people here in our own community is something that I feel like is overdue, and our pastor agreed.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And with anybody, if anybody watching this, if you're, associate pastor, outreach director, anything like that, we always encourage, if you schedule a presentation call with us, get your pastor, get a time scheduled with him.
Yeah,
Y'all both sit down and watch it. It's going to help you a lot, if he can see the presentation and see what it looks like and have the same vision of what you saw. So
right.
just think about that if anyone is going to book a call, because sometimes it is hard to explain it to someone who did not go through the presentation and understands it. I did a presentation call with a whole church the other night. They had a Bible study, and there
Wow.
was like 20 or 30 people in there, and the guy put it up on the big screen and had me do the presentation to his whole church because he was an older pastor in his 60s. He said, "I don't know how to explain this to any of them," and so he just put us up on the screen, and we broke it down for everybody. And so yeah, I encourage that. If there's key leadership decisions of people that you feel like need to be on board, set something like this
Mhm.
up, encourage them all. Y'all get a call time together, and we'll work with you. If you can't find a place on our calendar, we'll make something happen, and that way we
Yeah.
can present it to everybody, so y'all can all have the same vision of what's going on. But anyways, well, real quick before we go, y'all did it. The Lord blessed it. Y'all seen 30 something visitors from it. I think that's fantastic. To me, anytime you see over 10 visitors from any kind of outreach, it's amazing. It's awesome to me.
Yes.
But yeah, 30 visitors, that's awesome. So what's your experience with it? Do you think it's something necessary for churches today?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely would. I'm thankful for this software and your work on this because the fact that, I feel like it's hard, like we talked about before, to get into this type of thing, and someone that maybe doesn't have a marketing background, just to jump in and like try to actually reach people on their phone. It's like that's a completely unknown world for a lot of people. So this kind of bridges the gap, and not only does it get your church in front of people, and allow them to see what you're about, which that's invaluable. Like when we paid for impressions, and I think 40,000 people saw our ads, and
Yeah,
even if they scrolled away, they heard our church's name. And in the past, there's been people that have gone to other Baptist churches in the community, and as they've gone more liberal, they're like, we're looking for a different church, but we never knew you guys were even here.
yeah,
So just getting that out there is important, but also the ability to have that automation, that personal touch that makes people feel like, hey, I've got someone on in this church that's going to be there to welcome me when I come. So it's less intimidating. That's
yeah,
super valuable as well.
yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you getting on here with us, and keep on keeping on. If you need anything from us, let us know.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Dalton. Have a great day.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Bye.